We're going live.
Let's do it.
We're going live. But the problem is I was going to use my phone to check the comments.
You know what you can do?
Do what we can.
Pull up Facebook on a separate thing, and it'll show live comments.
Yeah. I still don't see us live. It says we're live.
That means that somebody's watching us somewhere. I do know that. I've gotten caught off guard a couple of times. Let me see. What page are you going live from?
My business. Yep. Okay, there we are. There we are. We're live.
Okay, I gotta find. Are you sharing it to your personal page?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to the. It took me to watch. Yeah, so let's go share it to all the places.
Leah Steele. Let's see. Where's your business page?
It's facebook.com/the Leah Steele.
Dun, dun, dun. So we're live?
We're live. We're officially live. Sharing to the places. Hey, Carrie Yossi. Carrie's like, I couldn't miss this one.
Who is it?
A client and a friend of mine. Her name's Carrie Yossi. Carrie goes, so many people have been, I just interviewed her last, and so many people have been messaging me about her interview, because her interview, we were talking all about what it takes to be a mom that's a primary caregiver and be creating wealth. So it was a great interview.
I think if you tag me in your page, it'll show up on my page, right? Oh, I found it because I like your page.
People have been messaging about her interview, because her interview we were talking about.
Muted on
Yeah, I did. I did not. Let's see.
On the Facebook.
Oh, I started this watch party.
You started a watch party too?
Yeah. Normally I just start a watch party when I do this, so that people will come while I'll get alerts.
Okay, I found the one on mine, so I'm going to go ahead and share it and turn down the volume so I can see. Carrie Baker Yazzie? Is that her last name? Yazzie?
Yeah. Yossi. Yossi.
Yazzie.
We're officially live in all the places. I don't know that we can be live in any more places, but.
Well, we're about to, because I'm about to share my page. So.
Oh, okay. We had some Bali internet issues this morning as usual, so we had to. Really, we were just catching up also.
It's actually perfect timing, because I just did okay, now we're live on my page, so we're good. There we go. I shared it. Yeah, it's good. It's perfect timing, because I just did one with Deb Cole, Queen of Twitter, and it was very controversial.
Ooh, controversial's good.
Hi, old people.
Okay, so I'm now trying to expand so I can see comments in the places. All right. Hi, Jason.
Hi, how are you, Leah?
Good, how are you?
Amazing. What are you drinking?
I am drinking fresh watermelon and ginger juice, because it's 9 a.m. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking fresh scotch.
Awesome.
Because it's 8:30 p.m. here in the Florida place, and it's tomorrow my event starts.
That's right. So exciting. So you're having a little unwinding time doing an interview with me.
100%. I figure, you know what, if we're gonna be controversial, why not the night before the event?
Right. Because then everybody's already got their tickets. I mean, like, what are they gonna do?
What are they gonna do? We got ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox News tomorrow for interviews.
So exciting. Well, we're gonna talk about the event for sure, because I have all these questions I want to ask you. So we're gonna dive in. So first of all, I just want to say, I know that some of you have seen interviews that I've done with Jason on his show or that he's done with me on my page. And it's always so fun for me to be in an interview scenario with Jason because you never know what we're going to talk about. I feel like so many random subjects come up.
There's some rabbit holes we could go down.
But I'm actually really excited to have you here on this particular interview series because I think that a lot of my audience doesn't know a lot about your background. And so I want you to kind of talk a little bit about, well, first of all, Jason is a comedian. He is the Bald Avenger. He is a businessman. He's a humanitarian. He's a philanthropist. We're going to talk about all the amazing things that he does. But he's also a very, very dear friend of mine. He's a mentor of mine. And I just consider myself really, really lucky to have him in my life. So I'm super grateful that you are here and that you said yes to doing this interview. But I want you to share
anything, anytime, anywhere. That's my motto for you, lady. I love you. I love how you're changing the world. I love the energy that you put out, and anybody that follows you. You know, this woman is the real deal, and anything that you do, they should participate in, especially if you're female. I, on the other hand, get judged against being part of your all-female group sometimes, but we're not going to talk about that. We won't talk about the fact that there's sexism within your ranks, but you know, that's cool.
Listen, I've branched out. I've been working more with men recently. We're trying to like not be sexist at the Leah Steele brand. It's a work in progress.
Got it. Well, you know, I mean, honestly, that, you know, there's a lot of masculine. It's basically a masculinity crisis. But you know, let's go on before we start causing all kinds of waves.
Maybe we'll come back to that. So
Perfect.
I would love for you to just share a little bit about where you came from, because you've built an amazing life for yourself. And I also want to talk to you about what being wealthy means to you. But before we go into that, I'd love for you to just share a little bit about your background, because you weren't born with a silver spoon in your hand. You have earned and worked for everything that you've achieved in your life. And so I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about where you came from and how you shifted your wealth paradigm.
Okay. Broad subject, but you know, just for people that don't know me, my background is I was adopted very young. I didn't know I was adopted, but I was adopted very young, and my adopted father was massively abusive to my mom first. And then, you know, right around 6 or 7 years old, I started stepping in front of her, you know, doing the best I could to take her beatings, broken noses, a lot of that kind of stuff. And then finally at 17, my adopted father went to prison for attempted murder of me and my mother. And then obviously, like, this is, again, that's my story, but everybody that watches you, everybody that's watching this, we have our own, everybody. Here's the thing that I found is that everybody that's attracted to you and your message and attracted to Misfit Nation is somebody who's gone through some kind of trauma in their life, right? Like, we all have our crosses to bear. And so the story is basically, you know, if you fucked up, if your life has been fucked up, if you've been abused in any way, shape, or form, then, you know, you're family to us. And so I tell that story just to say, look, see yourself in the story. Don't listen to my story, because it's pointless, other than the fact that maybe there's some clues in what Leah went through and what I went through. And what I did, what I think that most of us do, is until we become awakened, until we become, I'm going to try to use some of your words from your world, you know, the woo-woo world, is that that once you become awakened to the idea that you're in control of your life, you look back and you look at these things and you say, you know, of course I went on to do the thing that I was trained to do, which was, you know, I went into dealing drugs. I went into collecting money. I was a good fighter, you know, having fought a full-grown adult basically since I was 7 years old. And, and so that was my background until other people intervened, right? Coaches, leaders, teachers, these kind of people that can see your value when you don't see it in yourself. I had an English teacher that really transformed my life by teaching me that language and words and understanding them, and then building stories that were beyond the world that I was living. And she knew what I was going through in 4th grade and taught me a skill set of being able to tell stories and to transport myself through language into another world and into another reality, and to be able to tell my stories through the characters of other people. And then, into a football coach, Daryl Holt, and then first it was my wrestling coach, Charlie White, and then into a football coach, Daryl Holt. And, and to focus my anger, focus my talents into something that was more productive than doing the dealing drugs and beating people up and, those kind of things, going to jail and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't, so that fast forward that. And in the meantime, I had all of us wouldn't exist. Again, forget about my story, think about your own. We all have somebody that has loved us, or we would be dead, right? If you're not loved when you're a baby, it's failure to thrive, you die. And if you're not loved, there's a lot of things that happen if you actually don't have love. So, what the component is if we're a victim of our circumstances, we say nobody loves us, but really, genuinely, we know we would be dead if somebody didn't actually love us. Well, I had grandparents. My mom loved me dearly. I had people along the way that loved me, and my grandparents. It's interesting because there was a switch in my life, and my grandparents always made sure I had a Bible. As you know, I'm not a massively religious human being these days, but my grandma made sure I had a Bible with me at all times. And she's now, in heaven and has passed on. But reading the Bible, I read it not as a series of, not as a religious tome so much as just a series of stories. My young mind, I was seeing these things happen, and I was reading these stories back to back, and eventually I got to a place in my life where many years later, I got stabbed in the chest in what was to be my second to last drug deal. And when that knife hit my chest, there was a Bible verse that popped into my head, and it said that the sins of the father are born unto the children. 3 days prior, my son was born. And it was a big deal for me. I said, you know what, if I live through this, I'm not going to live that life. I'm not going to subject my children to that life. I didn't know, like many of us, when we decide to change our life, we don't know what we're going to do. We're like all these motivational speakers and a lot of people that are out there. It's like, oh, you just change your mind and all of a sudden your life changes and blah, 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 and you're like, fuck, that doesn't work for me. I'm a screw up. Like I'm a nobody from nowhere. And I don't know if I have any value, and I'm either going to end up in prison or dead, like most of my friends from those days are. And but it was in that moment where that scar that I have, that's a constant reminder to me, was that we have a choice. And I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I wasn't going to subject my children to that, to taking on that generational curse, is I think what a lot of people call it, right? And so I didn't know what to do, but I went and I got a job. I started peeling logs, hand peeling logs for for $6 an hour, and then I got a giant raise to $8 an hour, shoveling a sump in a mine, and then I was peeling carpet and tile and stuff off of the floor. I became an assistant. Then I became a journeyman, and then I got a job at a carpet store, and that led to my first business, which led to my first bankruptcy, which led to my second bankruptcy, then it led to my third bankruptcy, and then a mental crash of, this, whatever this thing called success is not meant for me. And that I think with a lot of us, if you're a seeker, if you're watching me or Leah, I know you're a seeker. I know you're looking for truth. I know you're looking for opportunities in your life to better your situation. You may not even know verbally or mentally what that looks like. You're just like, look, it's got, whatever life I've lived, there's got to be something better out there for me. And you know, I guess the message from, if nobody gets anything from this, is that life is a choice, and you are the captain of your own ship. You are the captain of your own destiny, and you can form and paint whatever painting it is that you can envision in your mind. But most of us have been tricked into, I'm a loser, I'm from nowhere, I've got no money, I've got no background, because I failed once, I'm fucked. You know, and I think that you are a great example. If my life is anything, it's that anybody can come from anywhere if they realize that shit we've been painting for ourselves, that's our design, right? That's our design. Instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to design the life of my choice. And so I did that. I started to think bigger. I started reading books, and it's just little incremental deals, right? Everybody thinks that there's this magic moment or this fucking magic pill that you're going to take that's going to transform your life. It's small, little, tiny decisions. The same thing that gets you sick. I was in some office somewhere of a chiropractor, and I saw on the wall, it says, "Foolish is the man who believes that he can that he can heal faster than he got sick," right? And that has really stuck with me, and that it's incremental improvement. Did we lose?
I'm still here. Just keep going. It'll reconnect.
Yeah. So anyway, so the point being is that I reached that point where, because of coaches, because of people who loved me, because of you know, those. Well, see, that I stayed on, so you got kicked off. Yeah. That's really weird.
We're back. Do you see me now, though?
I see you. I've seen you the whole time, except for the bottom picture disappeared.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short is that I realized through just incremental improvements and people believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. You know, up to Tony Robbins and Lauren LaHave, who's going to be emceeing our event this weekend. You know, these people started to believe in me when I didn't really know what that meant, and just kept one step forward, one step forward, one step forward. And you know, I'll end this rant with the idea that I got from a brain surgeon and one of the top brain and sociologists in the world, that says that most of us that are still alive and we haven't traded in our life for tribalism. In other words, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm black, I'm white, I'm gay, like, you know, those types of things, that we've shut our brain down to the idea that we can hold two concepts in the mind at the same time and compare them and maybe come up with something better. But that at the end of the day, that there's a resilience gene in most of us. You know, we are the descendants of warriors. And what we've decided to do is to take on the mantle of that we're broken. Every commercial you watch on television, every drug that's out there because you have an ache or a pain. You know, I watched something the other day that said that, you know, not millennials, but Gen X, right? I'm a Gen Xer. That Gen X, that we didn't know that there was mental illness. We didn't know that there was fibromyalgia. We didn't know all these things. And so we just fucking sucked it up and we did it, right? And we had to get through life. Like that's the thing. The human spirit is meant for achievement. It's meant for success. It's meant for overcoming. It's meant for being resilient and really progress and impact in the world. And yet we sit back, a lot of us, and we believe the commercials, we believe the MSNBCs or the Fox Newses or the other, whatever it is, that tell us that there's something wrong with us. And I'm just here to tell you, like, I'll stop with this statement, is that you're not broken and there's nothing fucking wrong with you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the thing that I really love that you said was this idea. I talk about it as the law of compounding, right? Like, it isn't one thing. It isn't one magic pill. It's a series of choices. It's a series of decisions. It's a series of events that lead to you. You know, it's Sean says all the time, we are the results of our rituals. So it's like, what are the choices that you're getting up and making every single day that are creating the life that you desire to live? And, you know, for me, it's how am I showing up for myself and how am I showing up for the world on a daily basis that creates this life that I've designed. It's not.
Let's get real about your life, Leah. You know, I mean, when I met you, do you mind?
No, yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, when I met you, like, you know, you're like, hey, I don't even remember how we got connected. It doesn't really matter at this point, but at the end of the day, you know, somebody told you that you should come and talk to me. And I had no idea. You know, I was just like, look, I've resigned myself to the fact that I'm a servant in this world, right? You have as well. And in order to lead, you must be a servant first, and a servant always. And so when the phone call came in, I didn't know you. I had no idea who the hell you were. I just know that you reached out and you ended up in my office, and I know you to be one badass fucking woman. Like, you know, you're powerful, you are strong. There is nothing weak about Leah Steele, right? And when you sat in my office, you broke down, right? You broke down and you were crying and you didn't know who I was, right? For whatever reason, you know, there was just a connection there. And at the end of the day, when we had that conversation, I do what I do. I coached you. I gave you some advice. I said, here's some things that I would do. Very specific things, not, you know, the fortune cookie shit, right? Just, you know, put your mind to it, Leah. You're going to be successful. You're a powerhouse woman. Like that's not the advice that you got, right? It was very specific about, okay, here's what you do with your businesses. You do this, you do this, you do this. And then after that, what happens is you do this and you do this and you do this. And then you were able, in your own magical way, to say, okay, there's some practical application. There's some practical steps that I can take. There's some things that I can do. And then you realize that you were the architect of your entire life. You know, where you are has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the idea that you accepted in your own mind, that truth that you knew when you were born, that you were fucking magic, that you were born for something bigger than you were showing up for, that you were meant to do something in this world that was beyond making money, right? Money comes. It does. And I'm a very strategic thinker. You know that. I'm a hard-nosed business guy. I've sold all my businesses now and then bought a few more and then, you know, did this other stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, Leah was able to say, okay, there's some practical things that I can do to put a period, right? Or an exclamation mark on what you were trying to do. And now I could start the journey for what I was meant to do. And you did that. You did that. And I'm always so proud to talk about you and our relationship because, you know, I talk to thousands of people and very few people actually take what I say and apply it. They're looking for an easy pill. They're looking for somebody to do it for them. They're looking for, you know, you go to all these conferences, which is why I decided to do Unstoppable, that they're really just pitching you on their program and want to get you in there because they're about them, right? Unstoppable, I'm like, fuck this. I've built every business I've ever built because I've fallen in love with the outcome of my client first. Secondly, I've fallen in love with the outcome of my team. And then thirdly, my needs are always met, strategically, but they're always met because first the client, second the employee, third me. And the way that the world teaches you, take care of you, and then take care, pay your employees as little as you possibly can, and then force feed a product that your customer, you think they need, instead of thinking about that person. Well, I don't care if it's janitorial services or it's woo-woo shit. It doesn't matter. You're thinking of the person at the end of the barrel, like we are here at Unstoppable. I'm obsessed every single second. I'm obsessed with that person sitting in the audience, because you know what? That person used to be me. It was me. I had to sell pot to go to a Tony Robbins event. I sat at that event. I fucking gave a bad credit card when they did the impressions instead of the swipey, right? I gave a bad credit card so that I could, because the first 100 people to the back of the room got to meet Tony Robbins, right? So I went back there and I was like, here's my bad credit card. And they couldn't tell it was immediately bad, right? Because it was impression time. And I got to meet Tony, and I stood on that stage and he shook my hand, and I told him, I'm gonna pay you back for what I knew had changed in my life. And he looked at me and he stood back with those big old hands his fingers went up to my elbow, he was banana hands. And he looked at me and he said, I believe you. And what I heard in my ears was, I believe in you. And so I will spend the rest of my fucking life, just as you do, telling people, I believe in you. You're not broken. You are more powerful than you're showing up right now. Those things that you fucked up in your life, God bless you. Those were the things that made you strong. Those were the things that you were supposed to go through so that you could have empathy for other people that have been through them. Those are the things that you were meant to go through so that you could develop a strength that is not in the normal human being, because you were meant to be a fucking leader.
Yes.
And that's who you are. From the day I met you in that office and you broke down, I believe one of the lowest parts of your life, right? One of the lowest parts of your life. And you built the badass woman that I see in front of me today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the kind words. And also, I mean, and I can't ever say thank you enough for the mentorship and the advice, but how I do say thank you is by doing exactly what you said. It's like, I'm not, I pay you back by living my purpose and going out and helping others. And, I think that's
not a dollar of money has exchanged hands between us. Yes or no?
No.
Not one.
No. So I think, well, I know that.
I don't mean to keep interrupting, but let me tell you something that expanded from us, right? What expanded from us was that you living your true life, right, led to you serving and lifting up Lori Kinsey, right? Lori Kinsey then introduces me to Amy Myceto Ellis, right? And she introduces me because I'm in the world of trafficking, and I went to an event called Save the Next Boy and Girl. And from there, I met Pastor Rudy. Pastor Rudy runs CERT Ministries. Pastor Rudy's going to be here in Florida at my event with his beautiful wife, Lori, and his amazing daughter. I wish both of them were going to be here, but Maddie's going to be here. They're both amazing, Maddie and Cece. But that has led to us supporting CERT Ministries. Right? That has led to me being on a couple of undercover rescues of little girls. We got 12 little girls out of the program that we were doing over Super Bowl weekend by itself. Little girls that had been abducted, that were being used in the sex trade, right? And that is a direct reflection of you showing up and being who you were meant to be. It wouldn't have happened if you wouldn't have. I mean, if you would have walked out of my office and taken none of my advice and done nothing with your life, there would not have been that connection to Lori Kinsey. Lori Kinsey would not have connected me to Amy Ellis and Todd, her amazing fucking husband. And that would not have led to Pastor Rudy, who to me now in my life, Pastor Rudy is a leader, right? I love him. I'll do whatever I can just to support money, raise money for the guy. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll fucking lay my life on the line for that, and that was a direct implication, aside from everything else, that you live in Bali and you have, servants and, and the boys are really taken care of. And our boy Sean is out fucking surfing right now, right? Like, aside from all of that, you rescued 12 little girls.
So I want to just say, like, I feel like I'm going to get teary because I didn't actually know this story. This is the first time I've heard this story is here. And this is why living your purpose is so important, because you have no idea in each moment how you are impacting or affecting the world. So, and I'm a little like, I don't really know fully what to say right now, because I didn't realize that Pastor Rudy connection came. I didn't know the chain of events until we were here. Obviously, I know who Pastor Rudy is.
You were just asking me, like, who do I connect with in the trafficking world? And I'm like, Pastor Rudy. It started with you.
So it's like come full circle, right? And so this is why, like, when you commit to, and this is the thing I love about Misfit Nation. And so Misfit Nation is the community, is Jason's community, and the community that Jason has cultivated and created, and it's full of just these amazing humans. So follow Jason for sure. And, if this live stream is resonating with you, come and be a part of this community, because it is people that are committed to showing up in purpose and living purpose-led lives. And it is this idea of being of service and being, it's interesting because, to talk a little bit about woo, I pulled a card for the year and I kind of got the shits about it, because I was like, oh my God, I already fucking do this. But the card was the Samaritan. And it's sitting here on my desk. And this was like my archetype that I was meant to embrace for the year, the Samaritan, right? Yep. Help those you would prefer to ignore.
Help those you prefer to ignore. Let me tell you another story. Because help those so there's several organizations that are going to be in Florida, right? Essentially, for everybody who wants to know, Unstoppable is an event that we've decided to bring together the companies that we help make more money with charities that need money. And we've got Soap to Hope, right? And her thing is that you're not lost and you're not forgotten. And what she does is she collects cleaning supplies, clean needles, those kind of things for the prostitutes that walk the street. She doesn't judge them, she just serves them, right? She didn't look at them and say, you know what, you're making fucked up decisions, blah, blah, blah. She just loves them. And because she was one of them, a new dawn, right? She starts out and she lifts up, women that have been through abusive relationships. She was a prostitute. She cut. She was in a insurance scam. She was a drug addict. She went through all that stuff. She lost her kids because into the system, and now she's turned that around. She has her kids. She's an amazing mom. Now she's got a new dawn, which lifts up other women that are going through it, right? Gives them an escape route, gives them, a place to stay, and supports them. And Chemo Buddies for Life, right? Which is nothing about curing cancer. It's just, if you've gotten a death sentence of cancer, if you've gotten that death sentence, that Tamra Hunter is there to say, we're just here to love you through it. As you're going through chemo and you can't walk, if you're going through chemo and your family left you and we're just there. Chemo Buddies for Life, right? Feed a Billion, Ambush Jane, who's one of my fucking heroes in life. He's going to be here. And he just woke up one day after a very successful business life, and he said, is this all there is, right? And it's not. I want everybody to hear this. Ambush Jane, AJ in my life, is somebody who we should all aspire to be like, because he was very successful in business, and now he's taken all of that and turned it and transformed it towards serving other people in an organization called Feed a Billion. He's been in India, we've been in Africa, we've done stuff in America to feed people. And then you've got Certain Ministries, who's Pastor Rudy. And Pastor Rudy just knew in his heart that what he was meant to do. And that those things and that outcome is you're meant for service. I don't care. I understand you got to pay the rent, you got to pay the bills, you got to, you know, you want to go, you want a nice car, you want to go on trips, you want to do all that kind of stuff. I get it. But your soul will not be lit on fire until you decide whatever your competence is in life is meant to serve the people, right? And I don't know where I was going with that whole rant, but that's
on that I want to say, because so there's something that's really interesting to me, and it's actually why I reached out to you earlier this year, or later last year. It was late last year that I reached out to you about, and we started talking about Pastor Rudy. But you know, for me, I feel like I've lived a life of service in that I've always been in the helping professions. Like, it's just pretty much, for the most part, other than some early 20s stuff in sports and entertainment marketing, I've worked in the helping professions. And so as a result, I felt like I was being of service, and I felt like I was living a life of service. I ran addiction treatment programs. You know, I now am definitely in a place where I'm helping, and I am, you know, I serve people and I help people, certainly through my business now. But one of the things that I recognized at the end of last year is I remembered this thing that somebody told me, and I wish I remembered who it was, but I don't. But this thing that somebody told me, and it was about doing service work or being of service in the world. And I asked the question, how do you know if you have, you know, there's several causes that you want to participate in, or there's things that, like, oh, you're like, oh, that's a good cause, or that's a good cause, or that's a good cause. It's like, how do you choose? How do you choose which cause to tithe to? Or how do you choose which cause to give your time, energy, money? And when I talk about tithing, I mean, I'm not talking in the traditional sense. I'm talking about giving of your most precious resources, your time, energy, money. That's what tithing is to me. So I was like, how do you decide? And this person said to me, the thing that is so horrible that you want to turn away from it and that you don't want to look at it, the thing that makes you so sick that you'd rather pretend it doesn't exist than give it your attention, that's the place where you need to be making a difference. And it just struck me, because I was like, I'm not doing any of that. Like, it's like, I grew up in addiction treatment, and I remember at the time, and I was like, okay, so I need to find that thing. I need to find that thing. And I was asking myself the question again last fall, because I really wanted to start tithing in a substantial way from my business. And that came to me again. And I was like, what is the thing that I'd rather pretend like it doesn't exist, that I want to turn away from, that I don't want to look at it? And it is sex trafficking, right? And I talked, Jason, to you a little bit about, you know, particularly for me, it's women of color. And it's that, you know, they're looked for less. Their, you know, police efforts and resources don't go towards finding them at the same degree that they do towards women that are not white women, basically. So we've been having and
it's less reported, right? I mean, less reported. There's reasons behind the statistics, and to your point, one of the things that breaks my heart the most, you know, and it happened on this last trip, and I'm going to try really hard not to tear up, but on this last rescue that we did, it was called the Super Bowl rescue that we went in, is that a lot of these girls, nobody's looking for them. You know, whether they're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, it does, you know, it crosses all racial borders. It comes down to what family was I born into? You know, what family was I born into? And yes, it statistically leans more towards that side for a lot of reasons. And we don't need to get into it, because now you start pissing people off. I don't give a fuck about all that stuff. My point is that all children, I know there's other people that do for adults and all that kind of stuff, but for me, there's a special affinity towards somebody that's had choice ripped out of their life. A lot of us walk around with this victim mentality. I'm black, I'm white, I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat. I'm a victim of something, because, you know, at some point in time, I need somebody to feel sorry for me to have value in this life. And that's bullshit, right? It weakens us as a society, weakens us as a human being. But when you deal with abused children that have been abducted, which is about 2 to 3 million kids in the world, or a domestic violence where every 11 minutes there's a domestic violence occurrence, or every 4 seconds there's a human being that's dropping dead, not of hunger related issues, but hunger itself. Like they starve to death every 4 seconds. Think about that in the time that we've been on this call. And those types of things, I appreciate your idea, your concept of coming from a woman of color, but the saddest thing in the world to me, and the girl that it happened to be, that this broke my heart while I was in, and I've done this, I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for years. And the one that broke my heart was when we were in Vegas, and it happened to be a Black girl. And, and there was this interaction that happened that between a giant white dude. This guy was on our team. I can't say his name for undercover reasons and stuff, but this giant white dude, and we had located her and we surrounded the car and we did all the stuff that we did. And he was standing right by her door to make sure that she was protected. And she rolled down the window at some point and she said, "Aren't you freezing?" It was freezing cold, by the way, freezing cold. And he stood there like a stone soldier watching over this girl. And then there was other people that were around. And she rolled down the window. She said, "Aren't you cold?" And he goes, "I'm very cold. I'm freezing." She goes, "I can't believe that all of this is for me." And he goes, "Oh, baby girl, there's been every time." I was trying not to let it get to me. But he said there's 33 people that have been praying for you and searching for you that don't even know you, that love you. And if that's not a bumper sticker that should transcend all other things that happen in the world, is that's a moment that happened that we should all be thinking about, right? And we talk about service and we talk about all these things. We talk about, I got to pay my rent, Jason. Guess what? If you gave 10% of everything that you made, I don't care if you make $100 a month, if you gave 10% away, it starts a spirit inside of you of service that then leads to you being resourced by God. Whatever it is that you think by God in my life is that I'm resourced to the level of my submission to service. And that's bigger than us. It's bigger. Like for fuck's sake, the thing that's going to happen this weekend in Florida and Unstoppable, that's not me. That's not me. The thing that's going to happen, that's been happening for you, the connection from you to Lori Kinsey to Amy to Pastor Rudy, that wasn't you. Like that, these are things when we submit to our ego and we become in service of that thing that is much bigger than us. Your resources rise to the level of your commitment to service. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah, I love that, because so this is one of the things that I talk about when I'm doing wealth repatterning work with people, is this idea of giving and how important it is. And to me, it's like the title of this live stream series is Becoming Wealthy. And this is wealth. Like, this is true wealth. This is having wealth in all areas of your life, being of service, giving back. And, because I do believe that when we are in service and when we are being of service, that it is not possible for us not to be wildly financially abundant in all other areas of our lives. Like the universal laws, it's exactly what you're saying. God, the divine source, universe, all that is, whatever it is that you call it, will show up for you. And you will be wildly financially abundant when you choose. I mean, and I say this all the time, it wasn't until I fully surrendered my will, I surrendered my free will to God and just said, every day, what will you have me do? What will you have me do? It wasn't until that moment that my finances turned around. Like, that was the moment when things shifted for me. When I said, okay, I'm no longer letting my ego run the show. Like, I'm no longer driving the ship. I'm now surrendering it over. How would you have me serve today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. And Pastor Rudy, the funny thing is, this guy lives by, AJ and I had a conversation today, literally about this idea of faith in action, right? Faith in motion. And Pastor Rudy, of all the people that I know, he'll get a call and he'll say, you know what, there's somebody in Las Vegas and we have a lead on this little girl, and he'll be like, okay, I'm going. He's got enough gas money to get there, no extra food, has no idea how he's going to get home, doesn't know whether he's going to find them or not, and he fucking goes, and he's always been resourced. 2 days ago they got a lead on this little girl, and he's like, man, we're like $3,600 short of finding her. And guess what, when certain ministry says pray, that means that they're on a mission. And when they say Geronimo, that means that the little girl, the princess, they say Geronimo, princess in tow. In other words, they rescued the little girl, and they found her just in time for them to make the tickets to be able to come here, to be able to come to this event, right? And to me, when I look at his wife, and I look at his daughters, and I look at the life that he leads, he is one of the wealthiest human beings that I know, because he lives in total faith, right? He lives in total faith. And my mission and my talent, and look, there's two talents in the world. There's a talent to be able to grow a business and to be able to make money. And then there's talents like Pastor Rudy has, which is to serve and to go rescue and to do God's work on this earth. And sometimes they're two different people, right? And when I met him at Amy's event, he said, God, he goes, Jason, when I first met him, he goes, I hate asking for money. I said, I do not suffer from that. I do not suffer from that problem. I will ask everybody for fucking money when it comes to serving and lifting up these little girls. And I told everybody, I got up on stage and shamelessly asked for money, and they ended up being $20,000. This is an organization that saved over 135 girls for less than $100,000 budget. There is zero ego there of any of the people that are on that team. They're donating their time, they're paying their own travel, they're doing their stuff. And Pastor Rudy and his daughters and his wife, they do work outside, and they put all that money back into the rescues. So if people could hear one thing tonight, I think that it is that your life will expand beyond anything that you can possibly imagine when you become of service to other people. If you're serving yourself, you become tiny, right? You become somebody who's willing to engage in Republican and Democrat hatred, willing to hate Trump or willing to hate Obama, willing to hate gays, or willing to hate Black people, or willing to hate white people. It makes you really, really tiny, right? It makes you a small person. And then when you look at the pain that everybody's going through, and you decide to dedicate yourself to service, all I can say for me is that I'm fucking 10 foot tall and bulletproof when I'm in service, and I'm a fucking panty waist when I'm worried about myself. Is that even a word?
So we have some people asking about how they can help with your organization, but I think it's probably an amazing opportunity here to share a way to donate to certain ministries. So I'll get a link from you, Jason, and we can attach it to we can put it in the comments of the videos and in the description of the video.
Certain ministries, SERT, right? And that's search, evangelize, rescue, and train. And that's what they do. And it's SERT. There's also somebody watching tonight that it's a recent relationship called, and his name's Kevin Russell, and he runs an organization called Warrior Horse, and I just met him in Dallas last weekend. And this guy has dedicated his life to veterans issues, specifically PTSD and people that are looking to recover. And he combines veterans and our warriors that have come back and gone through and seen horrifying things in protection of us with animals, and specifically horses. And he's going to be here in Florida too. I just sit back in awe and humility and like just absolute love of the people that are going to be here this weekend, which I wish you were here.
I wish I was there too. I'm so excited for you though. And I'm so excited for all the people that are going to be in that room. because I know how impactful the event is going to be, not only for them, but I know the ripple that it's going to cause out into the world. And that's, I think, you know, the other thing that you'll hear me saying over and over, and I know that Jason believes in so much, is that every time we come together, every time we make a difference, every time, even when we come together in conversation like this, the ripple that we create out into the world is so much greater than we can imagine. It touches so many more people than we can imagine. And so you never know, like, you never know what that one act of service, what that one word, what that one act of faith, right, that you perform, how that's going to impact or save a life or change a life or help someone. And so I think that, you know, that for sure is like a great message to come from this live stream. I feel like we've let the people down because we've been so inspiring and uplifting and haven't talked about anything inappropriate.
You know, we can go as long as you want. I don't care. Let's get into some controversial shit. I don't care, you know? But at the end of the day, let me tell you what I think unstoppable is, and then we can go on to whatever you want to talk about. But at the end of the day, what unstoppable is that there's an unstoppable spirit in each one of us when we're born. And we get stabbed in the back, we get stabbed in the heart, we develop, you know, sort of a scar tissue that covers up that thing that we're meant to do, which is love. And, you know, a lot of people, like I always say this about my old gangster buddies that would be looking at me going, "You're such a pussy these days, Jason. You cry, you know, you're talking about love, you know, all this other kind of shit." And like, this is a cover up of my gang tag, right? And it's a cross, which is weird, you know. And it's, and the symbolism to me at the time was there's some flames, you know, there's some smoke coming up from the cross, and underneath of it you can still see the gang tag, right? But up what the symbolism of the flames, the smoke coming up, is that the cross was extinguishing the devil, right? And the powers of evil. And it's very, very representative of me. I mean, and then this is a whole story on this arm, and, you know, and at the end of the day, I think for all of us that it comes back to the place where we know that when we're focused on us, life shrinks, right? When we're on antidepressant drugs, when we're smoking too much, when we're drinking too much, when we're eating too much, when we're having sex too much with too many people, like all of the things that we do to escape that present moment is what you should lean into. And it's what's calling you to a higher calling. And anybody that ignores it, you're gonna still have fucked up shit that happens to you in your life. The difference is when you have fucked up shit and you know you're on purpose and you know you're on target, is that it means something different. It's like, okay, I know I'm going through trouble, I know I'm going through this stuff, but it's next, right? What's next? So let's get into some controversial stuff. Let's stop being inspirational.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I think we both like tend to like ride the controversy wave, right? Like both of us are, you know, I think the more I step into owning like my leadership role, the more I'm just like, I really give no fucks anymore. It's just like, I'm going to say what it is. I'm going to say it the way I see it. You don't have to agree with it, right? And if you do agree with everything I say, then that pisses me off too, because I'm like, don't be a sheep. Right. But I mean, I don't even know. I'm really curious your take on programming. Like, I'm curious your take on, you know, we see it everywhere, and you've touched on it a few times actually on this live stream. So maybe that's just what we talk about. But this, you know, and you may use a different word for it, but what I see as the programming, which in the United States in particular right now, is this entire hate machine of turning us against each other to keep our eyes off of what's really happening, right? Which is, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Do you hate Trump? And I've been talking a lot about this. You know, I always say, like, you can easily spot the programming by finding the people who are on attack.
Look, at the end of the day, if you're attacking somebody, you know, here's what I have found during my life is that when somebody is attacking you, it is 100% projection of how they feel about themselves. And that's a fortune cookie a little bit, right? Where you say, oh, everybody's projecting on me. Like if somebody loves you, there's a split here. If somebody loves you and they're giving you correction and it doesn't feel good, but you know they love you, then you should listen to that correction. But if, for instance, I'm a Republican and I look at and I say, you know what, every Democrat, you're all socialists and we're going to be eating animals out of the zoo and that's what you believe, right? Or if you're a Democrat and you look at Republicans and you guys are all racist and you're this and you're that, right? You lose that. It's ignorance at its highest level, because the idea from the founders, and again, I'm a huge, you know this, I'm a huge buff of history. Like I love to listen to, because a lot of times out of ignorance, we repeat history because we don't study history, right? What I believe and that what I'm focused on, what I'm working on for the rest of my fucking life is that I want to skip us past, like, you know, you go back through history and you see empires grow and then they fall, and then they grow and then they fall. You know, money or a fiat currency grows and then it falls, and then it grows and it falls, which is why gold stays standard, right? It's the gold standard. And at the end of the day, I think if I could impact society or the world at any level, it would be for us to get beyond that repetition of stupidity. Right? And the repetition of stupidity means that you're going to buy into being a Democrat. You're going to buy into being a Republican. Look, both sides, I mean, right now, it's not clear because it's like hate Trump, right? On one side, you see it with the Democratic debates where you've got really intelligent people that are being sucked into this idea that instead of being intelligent, right? Buttigieg or Tulsi Gabbard, who I think is brilliant. You know, these people they get, and she's the one that hasn't been pulled into it, and she's off the stage, right? And it's just hate Trump and demagogue his entire following. And rather than having policies where my grandfather, as a Democrat, grew up and it was for the worker, and he was fighting against the corporate greed and, you know, and these types of things, it's not the same deal. But at the end of the day, when you buy into either ideology, again, I am a fan of what's happening with the decisions that are being made on the conservative side of America First, right? Because America, to me, is because I've traveled the world. A lot of people that throw this argument, you know, I've been in 62 countries, and I see the shining, like Reagan said, right? We're the shining city on the hill for a lot of people. And if we weren't there, there would be no protection against the bullies. There would be no protection against the dictators. There would be no protection against the autocrats. And so I see this side of what's going on that I love. And I don't want to see the Democratic Party destroyed, which is where it's headed, right? It's destroying itself because it's going towards socialism and communism. And it's never worked in history. It'll never work in history. Sounds great, free shit, blah, 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 blah. Eventually it goes down, and the only people that have power are, guess who? The politicians. Those are the people that have the power. And so the Democratic Party needs to fight to get its soul back, and I hope they do. And I would support that effort, right? I would support that effort so that they get their soul back, so that they get their energy back towards protecting, you know, the things that the Democratic Party of my grandfather that I loved and adored and was so upset about me. I told him, you know, before he died, I was like, Grandpa, it's not the same Democratic Party, right? Not the same Democratic Party. Now you have what's going on, but there's good outcomes. But I don't want the far right to win either. The idea is that you have Democrats who are feeling and sensitive and care about those types of things, and then you have Republicans, which are more structured and autocratic, I don't want either side to win. The reason why that our government was set up in a duopoly, so to speak, right, is that we could take the best of this and the best of this and leave the worst and combine them so that they made a more perfect union, right? In one of the greatest documents that's ever been created by mankind. And I'm afraid right now that we've gone so far over to communism, socialism, which will never stand. It's never worked. It never will work, that we've forgotten that the Democrats are a necessary portion of the duopoly.
So, and from your perspective, all of this fighting amongst themselves, like my belief is that it all serves a global financial agenda, which keeps an elite number of people in power of the world's financial resources. And all of this stuff that's happening at this very, at the you and I level, the hate fuels.
What allows control. When you're stupid, somebody controls you. When you're angry, somebody controls you. When you are pointing a finger, somebody controls you. When you are blaming, somebody controls you. When you are sad, somebody controls you, right? And that's what the issue is. It's like to inflame on both sides, hate orange man, you know, hate socialism. Look, I know a tremendous amount of Democrats, like a tremendous amount. And again, I have sort of a Democratic tilt because of my grandfather, because he was the greatest man in my fucking life. Like my grandfather to this day, above everybody that's ever been in my life, is my hero. And he was a Democrat, and what he believed was honorable. And so I tilt Democrat. But when it comes to what Trump is doing and what's happening, there's increases in wages. There's all kinds of quantifiable advances, because I don't think Trump gives a shit about politics. You know, I just don't think he cares. And everybody writes him off as stupid. He's not stupid. He's smart. You know, he's intelligent. He knows that there's a lot of emotions running high on the left right now, which is far left and controlling. And you've got this huge amount of Democrats that really do feel passionate about protecting people, and that the corporations, which I believe, some of the major corporations, which I believe, like I say, I tilt Democrat, and I get hammered all the time on my site about being a Trump lover and and a Republican. I'm actually not either one, but I do tilt a little bit Democrat. And it's funny because I get yelled at from both sides. You're a Trump, you know, blah, blah, blah. You're a flaming liberal. For me, look, I use my brain to compare two ideas and to come up with the best idea. And my grandfather taught me courage under fire, right? Which means that you have to stand in a place sometimes that is uncomfortable because it's right.
Well, and I think when you can stand in that place from a position of neutrality, which is what you're talking about, when we can be neutral and observe what's happening, not from an emotionally charged place, that's actually when we think clearly, because when we're in that emotionally charged place, we're not thinking clearly and we are easily controlled. So that position of neutrality, which doesn't seem to exist on either side right now, right? And yeah, I mean, I get attacked all the time because I won't take a position. And I'm like, neither's right. Like, I'm not taking a position, because when someone is, you know, for me, I'd rather look at the financial slavery consciousness that exists globally on this planet than whether or not we should elect a Democrat or a Republican to office in the United States, right? I'd rather look at what is the impact and effect that all of the inflammation and all of the fear programming and all of this world will be built on your backs mentality has.
At the end of the day, the elites depend on us being stupid. right?
Yep.
And that's what they keep us stupid by keeping us pissed. Like if everybody watching this, I don't care if you're on the Trump side or if you're on the Democratic side, if you took that level of hatred and energy that you're putting into something that you have one vote over, or if you're from another country, you have no vote, right? In our country, you have one vote over what happens. But if you put the amount of energy that you spend putting time into this page and that page and fighting Trumplicans and fighting Democrats and all of the names that they've come up with, which I find it creatively amazing, is that if you just focus that in your own life, it would be measurably different, right? Measurably different. If you put all of that focus into your finances, your health, your joy, and your relationships.
Yes, your wealth, into being wealthy, right?
Yeah, and again, I go back to Pastor Rudy. That guy's wealthy as hell because he knows what he was meant to do and he's doing it, right? And then guys like me get introduced into his life that finance it and make sure that it's resourced, right? And that again, wealthy is a state of mind. You should be happy where you are, but never satisfied. And the issue is that we're taught to never be satisfied where we are and that happiness is someday.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect spot to end on. So I wish you well at your event. I wish I could be there. Thank you for the time today. I have one last question. Why is all your social media private?
That's a good question. Why is all my so is my Facebook page private? It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's fascinating to me because I'm always like, go follow Jason Sisneros, go follow Jason Sisneros. And then you post this amazing stuff. And like, I go to share it or repost it and I can't because it's not public.
Well, here's where you can follow is the Bald Avenger page. That's public, right? That's where we do a lot of our controversial stuff and where we talk about a lot of things that are necessary. And this will be posted on the Bald Avenger page. The Bald Avenger and Anton J. Global on Facebook, which is also public to the world. It's a great question. I think that I keep it private because of the work that I do in trafficking, and my kids. And at the end of the day, I have two places that I actually exist. One is my private Instagram and one is my private Facebook. And then I have a team of people that are on all the pages. I see it. I see the responses. They all get forwarded to me. But where I personally interact is on my private Facebook and on my private Instagram. Because most of those people have been curated and I know them and I know somebody that knows them. So, if something happens or whatever it is, I know how to find them. Weak.
All right. Wow.
But they can find the Bald Avengers very public, very public.
All right. So follow Jason on the Bald Avenger page and maybe you can send him a friend request. And if he sees you're connected to me, he'll let you into the secret lair.
When I look at people, I go, all right, there's a weird fucker. I'll take him. There's a weird fucker. I'll take him. Because I know the woo-woo world, the woo-woo world is important.
It is. It is. Well, I love you. I wish you.
Before you wrap it up, I just have to let everybody know how proud of you I am. And the life that you live, I see it. I see your pictures. I see Sean's pictures. I see your boys. I see the life that you live, and I'm so filled with pride of you and the life that you live. And I see how just fuck it you are in the world and what you do to serve people. And I'm just very, very proud of you. And I want everybody to know that from my tribe, from your tribe, this woman is a woman of quality and a woman of substance.
Thank you. Well, I can't wait to hear all about this weekend. You have to do an online ticket to the next one. I'm going to convince you to do an online ticket to the next event. Because I know
life changes in person. It doesn't, sometimes it changes digitally, but a lot of times, I heard Bill O'Reilly at one point in time say that the the future belongs to the people that can have a face-to-face conversation, because we're losing that skill set. We're losing that talent. And and again, this is going to be the first time where 90% of Misfit Nation is going to be under the same roof. We may get arrested.
Well, I'll be checking the interwebs for news on all of that energy in one place at one time is going to be amazing. So I wish I could be there. I'm so excited for you.
Me too. Thank you for that. And Anya, I love you. She's amazing. Kevin Russell, Heather Shannon. I don't know you, but I love you. Who else we got? Carolyn Brown. I know her and love her. John Duffy. My love, M. She's on. Kat. So,
We love you, Kat.
I think we lost a few people when we started talking about Trump and
as you do. It's all right. The ones that hang on are the ones that need to hear it, right?
Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right. I love you. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. Thank you for your time. I can't wait to hear all about the event. I know it's going to be amazing. And we definitely need to catch up, because I do need you to make that introduction to Pastor Rudy to me, especially now that I know this.
You're the source. You're the source.
All right. Mwah.
Love you.
Love you too. Have a great night.
Okay.